Welcome to another episode of Wham Baam Gamercam. Get ready for 30 epic gaming moments. Off-Road Covet was driving in an industrial site when a crazy driver started overtaking a slower vehicle. The driver lost control while overtaking the car and crashed head-on into the submitter's car. It was a very big impact since the crazy driver was driving at high speed. Also, it involved multiple other vehicles driving on the road at the time of impact, and all were heavily damaged. Eneos was waiting at a traffic light on his way to work. All of a sudden, a Ford Taurus blew the red light, causing an epic intersection accident. The Ford Taurus T-boned a minivan, throwing it into a traffic light that then fell down after impact with the minivan. Luckily, everyone got out safe. Ambush was driving his muscle car when he was about to turn left. Suddenly, he saw a bus running a red light, but it was too late. He got smashed by a bus and hit a light pole. The bus continued sliding down the street, and it finally stopped after another 50 meters. Zach took his car for a drive on the east coast of the USA, passing through town to get to the highway. When he came around the corner, he saw someone doing burnouts in his muscle car, so he just kept driving. When he was about to call the cops, the same car came flying past his car sideways and crashed into a residential building. Zach went to park down the road to get out and see if the guy was okay. Some people were already trying to take the guy out of his wreck. The Roadster was speeding in his Corvette, driving over 200 miles per hour, until he lost control and crashed into the wall of a house, which caused him to roll over a couple of times before coming to a complete stop. The dashcam of a parked car witnessed a supercar hit a curb and flip. Graham sent us this footage of an overconfident driver who went too fast into a curve and crashed his super pricey vehicle. I wouldn't want to be in his position. Daring was driving back home from work when, out of nowhere, a blue Ford Explorer T-boned his car. Daring has a newly imported Hyundai Creta which received major damage. The driver of the Ford Explorer got arrested after the accident, and Daring's car was unfortunately totaled. Cyclone was driving his Ibishu Pessima through the Belasco City Mountains. He went too fast into the sharp curve and crashed into the guardrails. After crashing into the guardrails, his car rolled over. Martin took a Bugatti Chiron for a drive in Beamng Drive. He decided to floor it to feel the power. Suddenly, he went over the narrow road, caught air, and crashed into the high curb before landing and coming to a complete stop. I hope you enjoyed this slow-motion destruction. Lucas was driving his Bugatti on Sunday. As he was leaving a parking lot, he didn't check if it was safe to merge and hit an approaching car. It was clearly his fault, but the other driver left the scene anyway. Maybe the other driver had some special cargo in the trunk, if you know what I mean. Superb Gamer was patrolling on the highway in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. He was checking his rearview mirror, and when he looked back, he saw a traffic jam. He slammed on his brakes, rear-ended the car, and right after that, he got rear-ended by another car. Luckily, everyone got out safe. A rally driver was going through the Italian rally track when suddenly a civilian got in his way. The civilian probably didn't see signs and continued driving until he got in the way of a rally car. The rally driver avoided the car, but then he lost control and crashed into a concrete wall before hitting a tree. Francisco was driving his Lamborghini Gallardo in Italy, having a nice joyride. That was until he went into a curve where he lost control and crashed into an oncoming car. The frame of his car was heavily damaged and it had to be totaled. Bieber 101 was driving his Mercedes G-Wagon at high speed. He thought he could make it through the curve without slowing down. His overconfidence caused him to fly out of the curve and roll over multiple times. Louis D was taking a trip down to Duisburg when he saw a major accident happen right in front of him. He knew he couldn't slow down in time, so he just merged off-road and went around the mayhem happening on the road. Tom was driving his sporty hatchback in Roane County. Suddenly, his car started sliding, hit a rock, flew into the air, and landed on the other side of the highway. The Canadian tourist was making a left turn downtown. While turning, he saw a sports car approaching at high speed before it T-boned him. They clipped his rear passenger side hard enough to flip him over onto his roof. Sean was racing in Seacrest County in his Pagani Zonda. As he was drifting through the curve, he didn't notice an oncoming vehicle. He tried to avoid it at the last second, but it was too late and he ended up crashing head-on. Luca was transporting cargo with his semi-truck in rush hour. He was on a highway driving alongside another truck. Suddenly, a black van appeared trying to turn around after the van missed a turn. It blocked Luca's road. He slammed on the brakes and luckily stopped soon enough to avoid the accident. Halt sent us this footage of a bad start to a Formula race. Multiple racers collided with each other right after the green light went on. What mayhem! Nahum was racing on the highway against a Toyota Supra. The Supra driver lost control, hit Nahum, and then flew off the road. Nahum managed to keep the car under control, but we can't tell about the Supra driver. Courtney was sitting in a traffic jam. All of a sudden, two cars flew past her and rear-ended cars in the left lane. They rear-ended a red SUV that got pushed into cars in front of it. Eon was leaving a parking lot when, all of a sudden, he spotted a Honda Civic driver coming toward him. The Honda driver seemed out of control before he flew into the parking lot and crashed Eon's car. Aventador MT was cruising in his Ford Focus RS when he lost control in a curve and crashed into a rock barrier. That threw his car into the air before he rolled over multiple times. Andrew was driving very early in the morning to a business meeting. It was very foggy, and suddenly he saw a crash on the road. Cops were already there, but as he was going around the crash, suddenly a sleepy truck driver smashed into the crashed vehicles. Luckily, no people got hit, only cars. James was drifting in his JDM car downtown. He did some cool drifts. That is, until he went too fast into a curve with his drift and hit a curb, which sent his car jumping before he hit a wall. Acrez was driving his McLaren on the German Autobahn. All of a sudden, he saw a piece of bumper on the road. He hit the bumper, lost control, but luckily managed to get it back. After the crash, his front bumper was damaged and his side mirror fell off. Aishi was driving his Mercedes in the countryside of Poland. Suddenly, he saw a BMW driver merging onto the road, failing to yield to a minivan that almost crashed into him. Aishi slammed on the brakes before he got rear-ended by a BMW X5. Dell was driving at high speed in his Porsche GT3 RS. For some reason, he went the wrong way, where he lost control and flew into heavy rocks. The crash crushed his car, making it totaled. Lori was driving a Japanese sports car when she approached a narrow road at high speed. She caught a bit of air and lost control after landing. It spun her into a tree, heavily damaging her car in the front.